Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to Fantasy Football Weather Guys. We're here at week 7. We are almost halfway through the season. Welcome back. We have with us Sean Bratton and Dr. Mike Ventris, our on-staff meteorologist. How are you guys?
Well,
doing well. Happy to be here.
Doing good. I'm recouping after my second loss to the Fantasy Football Weather Guys here. Sean just beat me in our last matchup.
Yeah, and Mike, why was that again? Why did you lose that game?
I promised I wouldn't get all upset on this, but you know what? Screw it. Freaking Gardner Minshew with 9 points. All I needed was 18 points out of him. If he just got 2/3 of his production, I would have won. But no, he had to get 9 points.
Yeah, you went with the Captain America, and he just did not come through for you at all.
Well, you get so excited about him on the show. I wanted to make sure that I could just crush him into the ground into your hopes and dreams, and no.
Yeah. Well, Mike, why am I especially happy about this win? What did you trade me in the offseason?
You get Chinese food.
I get that, but I also got James Conner off of you, who was basically the determining factor in that win.
Just so our viewers and listeners know, in college we used to have a bet when we'd play video games or anything because we were poor, and we had this takeout Chinese food place that would deliver us a full meal with tip for $5. So in essence, Mike won $5 from Sean.
No, other way around.
Sean right. Yeah, right. Sean won $5 from Mike, and I won a Gardner jersey that's in the mail from Mike.
Yeah. I'm just a big loser this year. That's what it's coming down to.
Yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait for my General Giles chicken. Is all I'm saying, Mike.
So we're gonna do a recap of last week. Last week was our first extreme weather risk game, and we did downgrade it midway through the week, or midway through between when we posted the video and the podcast to the Sunday. And I think it's important to talk about it. So Sean, why did we downgrade?
Yeah, so this was a nor'eastern, and all the models are pointing toward some pretty heavy precipitation and winds 20-25 miles an hour plus for this game. As we got closer to game time, we realized that the precipitation was backing off a bit. It was drying up, and the precipitation bands were just not making it to Foxborough. However, what we did still realize is that winds were still a major concern. So a lot of the broadcasters brought this up. We could see the winds whipping, and you know what? These did have an influence on some of the components of the game, which Mike will follow up with here.
Yeah, no, I mean, living in Boston, it was impressive winds out here. We did see those wins at Gillette. Some of the guidance that we provided here, we all felt that New England defense was going to be a good start here, or a good starting in defense. I mean, they're the best in the league right now, historical defense, but they did not disappoint. They scored 2 touchdowns. They just destroyed, the New York Giants there. So talking about some of the negative impacts we did see, though, we saw both quarterbacks, Tom Brady and Daniel Jones, struggle here. Tom Brady had an 88.9 QBR. Daniel Jones was at 35.2, so both had a tough night. Tom Brady did savage his night with 2 QB sneak touchdowns. As personally as a Sonny Michel and James White owner, do you know how bad that hurt? That maybe that would have been the differential between you and Sean there with Tom Brady.
Could have been.
Yeah,
I had Sonny Michel in some of my leagues too. It hurt me too.
Yeah. We did say that the passing games, we were worried about Josh Gordon. He got hurt, unfortunately. But we were saying the safer plays in this game were the slot guys. Julian Edelman, he did well. He had 9 receptions for 113 yards. Golden Tate did well as well. 6 receptions for 102 yards and a touchdown. We actually did see Bill Belichick, the coach of the New England Patriots, change his plan of attack. There was a particular series where the Patriots were 4th and long, and they were down by I think it was the Giants' 43 or so yard line. And it was an obvious kicking situation, and they deferred to do that because of the wind. And obviously Mike Nugent, the kicker, maybe not having much faith in him. So we did see that. I don't think the Patriots got that play. I'd have to double check. But later on in the game, Mike Nugent actually had an attempt, a 40-yard attempt, and he actually missed it. He shanked it in the wind. So I think it hit the crossbar. So, we did see those impacts. The wind was definitely warranted here for our caution, at least. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the reason that we didn't want to go extreme on that, if we had the rain impacts, we were expecting this banded precipitation to come in. and just potentially be a downpour. And again, those rain bands backed off, but the reason we downgraded it to a caution was we still saw the wind in it. Yeah, it looked like it did have an impact for that game.
So that's great. I think it's really important to highlight that everyone needs to stay up to date with our social media, our website, because of how the weather can change, especially in the fall weather patterns like you've taught me that are unpredictable. As we go into winter, they're even more unstable, I think you guys have said.
Yep.
So it's just very important to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, our website. It's at FFWeatherguys. The link is below, and our listeners on podcasts will be in the description. Always follow us. Keep updated. Turn the notifications on. We'll try to keep everyone updated as things change. For this week, week 7, we are seeing 2 games with caution. They are at the opposite sides of our country. So we'll start with
the 49er Washington game. The system that we're going to be concerned about is, well, it's currently a tropical storm over the Gulf right now. It's around 999 millibars, 60-mile-an-hour winds. That's going to weaken as it makes its way across land. But by Sunday around 1 o'clock, around game time for the 49er Washington game, what we're seeing in the models is that this is trending farther to the west. Originally, this looks like this was going to go out to sea, but it's looking like an increased chance that this may impact with more of a rain risk than a wind. So with the 49ers and the Washington, we want to take a look at, hey, what are maybe some of the potential impacts that may have, especially coming in with the 49ers being they're 5-0 now, and a dwindling Washington offense.
Yeah, so the 49ers defense has been unbelievable so far this year. And they're going up a cushy matchup here. Washington's been giving up the 5th most points to the running back this season. And we put a little factor of rain in the forecast here. We think that the 49ers are actually going to be another good start here. Well, I guess we should probably start off more focusing on the Redskins because I think there's less of importance here for fantasy relevance, right? Most people probably care about Terry McLaurin, wide receiver for the Redskins. And McLaurin's been doing great, right? He's so far the wideout 12 for the season. Has had at least 7 targets in each of his games. But the matchup is really tough here. San Fran's just get up the 7th fewest fantasy points to wideout position this year. And we don't have any sample size with McLaurin in the rain, but we do have some information for Case Keenum, who's going to be throwing in the ball, the quarterback. So obviously you're not starting Case Keenum in your lineups, but you do know that there's a correlation between his production and what McLaurin will probably do. So Keenum's career QB rating is 85.3. We have 2 game samples. It's a small sample, but he's struggled in those rain games. His QBR rating is 69.8, which is 15 points below normal or below his average, right? So I'm worried about starting McLaurin here. It's something that I'm not doing.
Yeah, I mean, and just to add to that, the 49ers defense has been shut down. I mean, they're only allowing a 53% completion rating in comparison, because they're facing the Redskins. The Redskins have allowed a 72% completion rating. And in the red zone, only 25% of the time are they allowing a scoring opportunity in the red zone are the 49ers in comparison to the Washington Redskins, which are 64%. So McLaurin's going to be facing off against some top corners. They have 2 top 25 corners. They have Sherman and Witherspoon. And no matter which one he faces off against, I think he's just going to have a tough matchup.
Yeah, so I'm actually in our league. I'm struggling with a wideout 3 position here. I'm actually putting McLaurin on the bench, and I'm playing a guy from the 49ers. I'm actually going to play Dante Pettis. Dante Pettis is a guy that's starting to get more reps each week. He's up to 72% play snaps in the last game. He's playing out of the slot. He actually just missed 2 touchdowns last week, getting tackled on the 1-yard line. So if you remember, late last season and into the off season, there was a lot of buzz on Dante Pettis being the wideout 1. And he had a really tough start to his sophomore campaign, but I think we're starting to see that shift, right? We're starting to see him become more of that wideout 1. So if you wanted to throw a guy in there with some upside, I think Dante Pettis is a play you want to play.
Yeah, and he has some draft pedigree there. I mean, they drafted him fairly high, I believe. And he did. He had a rough sophomore campaign to start off, but I could see him gaining some traction with Jimmy Garoppolo here, and I would anticipate. I think he's going to get a touchdown this week. To be honest, I think he's going to get those opportunities. Washington is just so weak in the red zone, and they're allowing so many completions, and I think Garoppolo is building that rapport with Pettis. I think it's I would definitely, because Mike, you're choosing him over McLaurin, you said, correct?
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think that's a good move. I think that's a real good move.
Yeah, it's risky. There's risk involved, but I mean, with coming out of the slot, you're going to expect more of those quick slants, and I think Pettis is going to be that guy. And with the rain risk there as a factor, you might see less of Marquise Goodwin in this matchup. So I'm focusing on that. On the other side, another player that I have, and probably most players in fantasy have, tight end George Kittle, right? Kittle's been a solid tight end all year. But you know what? Washington's done a fairly good job of controlling tight ends this year. They've already played guys like Zach Ertz, Jason Witten, or Evan Ingram, and held them to respectable amounts. So, going into this matchup, like DFS, Kittle is probably the top priced tight end of the week. I'm actually shying away from him. I think he's going to be tempered expectations here in this one.
Yeah, and that's probably that's I mean, it's surprisingly so, right? Because Washington Redskins, you think of it like a free for all, but they have been locking down and doing a pretty good job against the tight end. Just kind of go to the other side of the ball. Hopefully, you have better options. Chris Thompson's out. Adrian Peterson is facing the number 1 rushing defense. Hopefully, you're not in a position where you have to play them. Mike, what about the 49ers rushers? What do you think about Coleman and Breida here?
Yeah, I mean, well, this is a run-heavy offense. We were taking a look at some of the statistics here for the running backs and how they played in weather games, and there really isn't that much sample size, right? I'm starting both of these guys. I think the matchup is going to be too good to miss out. Washington's also given up the 5th most fantasy points this year to opposing running backs, and we've seen production already out of Coleman and Breida. So, Colin, you actually just made a trade recently with Matt Breida, right?
I did. I took him while I feel like he was hot. I feel like his value's up. I don't think he's going to get an 80-yard run every time on the first carry. I think that I'm in a league where I'm not doing that well. You
also have a ton of running back depth.
I do have a ton of running back depth, but I traded for a tight end because there aren't a lot of tight ends that are good choices, and I went with Henry from the Chargers.
Yeah,
and I think it was a good play. I did confer with my fantasy football weather friend Mike.
There you go.
About the trade. But yeah, I think bringing it back to the conversation, I think then you look at this game, and with a tight end like Kittle, I still think you play someone like Kittle, like Mike.
You have to.
Yeah. So, but I did. I think Breida value though. On the weather impact, I think you guys have hit on. There's not a lot of stats with him playing in the rain. I think there was one game, like you said. So,
yeah,
I think you play him, but I think it's for a value. You have to look at his value in the daily fantasy and see where he is among the other people that are there, because I think it's a risk-reward concept, and I don't really know what the weather will do for him.
Yeah, so here's a question for you. You have Melvin Gordon and Matt Breida. Who are you starting?
Gonna let Mike take this one.
Yeah, I'm going with Melvin Gordon on this one.
I agree.
I think that the Chargers are gonna open up his running game more. I think we're gonna start to see the Chargers rely more on the running game, because we've seen struggling. The offense actually struggle here in recent weeks, right?
They're playing against a tough Titans matchup, though. I don't know. Titans, they do have stats where they're tough against the run. And what has he done so far? He seems like the rookie version of Melvin Gordon. So, I mean, I don't know. This is interesting. I think I'm going Breida here. I'm going Matt Breida here. I think he has a higher upside. Maybe not a higher upside, but I think he has a higher floor, I should say. I think he has a higher floor in this game.
It's definitely a better matchup.
And I think, though, like overall on other aspects of this weather impact of this game, I mean, I think the 49ers are going to win regardless of the weather. I don't think that
definitely.
But
I think so too.
It is a low over-under, right? The 42 points with the 10-point favorite of San Fran. So we are expecting San Fran to score most of the points here.
Yeah. So start up San Fran. I mean, Kittle, maybe he doesn't have quite the ceiling he usually does, but he's a top 3 tight end. You're playing him every week. So, maybe he doesn't get maybe 2 TDs or, 10 receptions, but he'll still be obviously right now the tight end landscape is rough with the injuries and just the performance. So
Yeah.
you got to play him.
Especially with Mahomes going down for a few weeks now.
Ooh, well, that hurt you, Mike.
Yeah. I mean, it hurt everyone in fantasy football.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. We're hoping for a quick recovery. I think the outline there for his projection 3 to 6 weeks maybe. So it was good news. Yeah.
The only problem is if they keep winning, then does he play in the end of the week?
Yeah, you're right.
Or the end of the season, I mean.
I think they got to put him in there. He's like the face of NFL.
Yeah, the thing is they got a Chargers matchup in week 4, and then they got their bye, or not week 4, but 4 weeks from now they're playing the Chargers, and then they have a bye. So they're just going to keep him out to get that increased recovery time. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. Or they may even give him surgery because just to reduce the potential for him to get, further injured. So I don't know. That's a murky situation.
So I think there was one other caution if we're ready to move on.
Yep.
Yeah.
On the West Coast, again, in rainy Seattle.
It's been raining every week there, it seems like.
Yeah. This is a typical pattern. So I'm going to share my screen here.
So this game is
for that game.
Baltimore at Seattle.
Yeah, this is the Baltimore at Seattle game, and this is a very typical pattern that we've been experiencing. So the Baltimore-Seattle game is going to be a 4:25 Eastern game start. So this is the Seattle location here, and it looks like they are going to be getting rain at some point throughout this game. The big question for us is, is this rain going to have an impact? Is it going to be heavy enough to have an impact? And right now it looks on the lighter side. There may be some portions in which it's a little bit heavier, but I don't anticipate this to be a huge fantasy concern.
Yeah, I'm this is a 50-point over-under. It's a 3.5 point favor for Seattle. I think you start your studs in this game. The one guy that I'm keying in on is tight end from the Baltimore Ravens, Mark Andrews. We've seen the Seattle defense struggle against the tight end position, giving up the 4th most points. And we know that Andrews is a cogwheel of that passing game in Baltimore. So I'm targeting him actually in DFS as we move forward here.
Yeah, especially if it does get a little bit slippery out there in Seattle and they need a check down. I think, Mark Andrews has proven to be that for Lamar Jackson. So I think he's the guy he's going to go to. The one guy that kind of stood out to me, and, again, with limited sample size, Chris Carson, you're starting him. He has really proven himself ever since those fumbling issues. But in games that there's been rain, his reception totals have gone down. So if you're in a PPR league and you maybe have another comparable option, maybe you go with that. But, I mean, you're starting Chris Carson here. I'm not saying not start him. I'm just saying that what the trends look like is it looks like he gets a few less receptions potentially, but he maybe picks that up with opportunities on the ground.
Yeah, it's real hard to bench Chris Carson. He's been a workhorse for that team. And with Rashard Penny's injuries, I still think that Seattle's going to just give this guy the volume. So, but yeah. I mean, just to kind of sum it up here in this, right? We're starting our both quarterbacks, Russell Wilson,
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson. So I'm not shying away from any of the wideouts. I'm actually interested about DK Metcalf with the recent injury of Will Dissly, the loss of him for the year. Someone's got to take up those goal line targets, right? So I think DK Metcalf with the big body, he's a guy you probably you might see get him a couple touchdowns here.
He got a touchdown last week, right?
Yeah. So
and Russell Wilson's looking more his way. So yeah, I agree. That may be a good pickup with Dissly out.
Great. So again, I think that wraps up week 7 forecast. We will update our blog and our website tomorrow or this evening. It is Friday when we're filming. We're a little late this week, but maybe it's better. We'll see. Let us know if you want to leave us comments or follow or leave comments. And thank you. And again, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, podcasts, Instagram, and our website will be in the description and down below.
Yeah, thank you guys. Hopefully everyone has a good week. We're about halfway through the season, so if you're struggling, keep at it. There's probably a good chance you probably played some of the better teams in your league. If you're We are more on a losing trend right now. So keep with it. Stick in there.
Like this guy.
And
2
yeah,
and
like
4.
Mike's the prime. Mike, what are you? 2 and 4 right
2
now?
and 4. I need to win this week. I need it bad.
So he's played Colin and I, some of the better teams. So he's
True.
He's going to come back now.
I'm in third place, 2 wins away from first.
No. Good luck to you guys because I'm not playing you, so I don't care.
Last thing, click subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube, and good luck.